Hold it. Stop for a minute. Okay. I really would appreciate it if you'd leave a like if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and leave me a comment, good or bad, I don't care. Okay, you can start again. I've lived in Tennessee, Indiana, Texas, and for a few short weeks in Illinois. As you get older, you begin to catalog the memories from the places you lived. My great childhood in Tennessee. I can't forget the Houston Astros World Series championship in Texas. Or my short stint as the news director at a small radio station in Robinson, Illinois. And then there's Indiana. Indianapolis.
The 500, the 500, the greatest race in the world.
It's what they call the greatest spectacle in racing. I suspect that's true. My first recollection of the Indy 500 came in 1958 as I listened to a portion of the race on the radio.
Through the second turn, Elysian cuts below the white line, but Rathman holds him off.
I was visiting my hometown of Chattanooga after recently moving to Bedford, Indiana. I lived in Indianapolis from 1969 until I moved to Houston in 1991. And if you lived in Indianapolis, you couldn't help but become a part of the 500. It permeated Hoosier minds from March till the end of May. Who was entering the race? What new cars were being introduced? Who won the pole? Who won the race? Who won Rookie of the Year honors? The entire city was covered in black and white checks. Erica, my wife, and I always looked forward to qualifications or the time trials as most Hoosiers knew them. If you're lucky, you had a secret parking place, at least less than 2 miles from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You lugged your cooler full of donuts, fried chicken, and pop, that's soft drinks in Hoosier speak. You'd be joined on your pilgrimage by young families with screaming brats, old folks with walkers dragging a cooler in a kid's radio flyer wagon, and 8 a.m. drunks relieving themselves in the 16th Street gutter. And why in the world would anybody want to be a part of that? Because it was part of the Indianapolis By God 500. I don't care if you're a Packers cheesehead, a Kentucky Derby julep drinker, a NASCAR beer guzzler, or a Stanley Cup ice butt. You had to respect 250,000 fans packed around a 2.5-mile, 9-degree banked oval. I've been lucky enough to see quite a few sporting events in my 77 years, but sitting in the stands listening to On the Banks of the Wabash, back home again in Indiana with the Purdue Band and Jim Neighbors, seeing the balloon release with thousands of red, white, and blue balloons drifting into a bright Indiana sky, waiting for Gentlemen Start Your Engines, then breathing in methanol fumes, trying to bear the sounds of Offenhauser, Chevy, Ford, or Novi engines, and watching 33 road rockets slowly pull away. That, my friend, is the most electric minute I have ever spent in any event, sporting or otherwise. That's my true impression as a fan. But I was also lucky enough to become a participant, not as a driver, mechanic, or car owner, but as a race photographer. I was introduced to this undertaking by my good friend, Trotty Hick. Trotty and I had taken photographs in underground coal mines 800 feet deep, smoked a joint or two together, and at the end of my musical career, he played piano in my trio. Trotty was one of the best jazz musicians I have ever worked with. He also introduced me to photographing the Indianapolis 500. We both had silver press badges that gained us admission to anywhere on the track, the pits, the garage area, and even the women's restrooms, although we never exercised that option. Trotty concentrated on cars, mainly in the first turn where he shot using the 3-foot rule. That is, don't click the shutter until the car is at least 3 feet off the ground. I concentrated mainly on people and drivers in the pits. I can honestly say that I saved a life during a practice session one May. By the 70s, the Speedway organization had become pretty lax into whom they gave press credentials to. Anybody with a lot of money and an Instamatic camera could get a badge. Now, that particular Saturday, this guy was standing in A.J. Foyt's pit, paying no attention to what was going on. I saw that A.J. was only a few yards from pulling in. I grabbed the guy's collar and yanked him back, and I said to him, "A.J. will run you over. I enjoyed shooting in the pits, although I also photographed the infield. One portion of the infield is known as the snake pit. The snake pit where you found interesting things to shoot. Anything. Anything. My son once told me that he saw a naked man pulling a Dodge automobile hood on a chain through the snake pit. The odd fact is that nobody really noticed. I recall one rainy 500, I think it was 73, watching a gaggle of naked kids that had jumped the snake pit fence. In full view of the crowd in the southwest vista, they were playing frisbee in the short shoot between turns 1 and 2 during the race delay. The fact that they were naked isn't the worst part. The worst part is that nothing should touch the sacred asphalt of Indianapolis Motor Speedway except Firestone rubber. Now, Trotty Heck was a rock-hard 500 aficionado. He had watched every race since 1949 when Bill Holland won the race. He had seats in Section E, and that's in the grandstand on the front straightaway just across from the paddock. Those were prime seats. You couldn't buy them. You had to inherit them. My wife and I still watch the race every Memorial Day, but it's not quite the same. Tom Carnegie no longer announces track records in his style. You no longer hear Sid Collins calling the race. No trackside commentary from Bob Jenkins, Paul Page, or Jerry Baker, all three of which I worked with in broadcasting. Most of the drivers we never heard of. No Johnny Rutherford, A.J. Foyt, Bobby, or Al Unser. Al was my favorite driver. And his son, little Al, he doesn't even race anymore. If we hadn't moved from Indy to Houston, we might still recognize the names. Maybe not. That is the Indianapolis 500, not some USAC sprint car race on a half-mile asphalt track in Salem, Indiana. This is the greatest spectacle in racing. And to all the NASCAR boys and girls who don't respect this form of racing, I can only quote my friend Trotty Heck. Real race cars don't have doors.